The trees are about to show us how beautiful it can be to let go. Get the dry leaves for the fire. About 34 degrees, so it is definitely chilly. But it's refreshing, I'll tell you that. That's cozier. That's cozier. I think it's probably safe to say that every single one of us has something in our lives that we need to let go of. Hanging on to things that we no longer need and are even oppressing or damaging to us can keep us from fully walking into the wellness era of our life. And so those of us who are working on walking through our healing, wholeness, wellness, and intentional eras, how do we know when it's time to let go? And what are some practical steps and tips to get us there? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So come on in, come rest a while. I know it's crazy out there. Take a nice deep breath and we'll spend some time together. I think it's important for us to first address why we often have a hard time letting things go. I think there are multiple reasons for this. One of the big ones being that humans find comfort in what is familiar. This is why we thrive in things like routines. The problem is that we find comfort in all things familiar, even if those familiar things are in some way hurting us. Habits and routines can be a very healthy part of our life, and habits and routines can also be a very unhealthy part of our life depending on what the habit is. But either way, we are finding comfort in something familiar, something that we are doing over and over again, and the sensation that that familiarity and that comfort is bringing us. And this can branch out and extend as far as identity. Identity is something else that makes us feel comforted as humans, and identity can be a beautiful thing in the right light, but we can also begin to identify ourselves with things that are negative, cloak ourselves in that identity, begin to internalize that identity, and that can lead to more negative experiences in our life. This particular thing is so profound. I have confronted this in my own life. I have seen this in the lives of other people, very up close and personal. I've seen this over and over again as I have encountered people in both my Healing Era program and my Brand Builder program. When I deal with this in the Healing Era program, and I also touch on this in the Brand Builder course, I give a disclaimer because I know that these things are triggering. Sometimes we don't even realize that we are internalizing and doing these things. But a lot of times we will take things that are spoken over us, the diagnosis, this is what is going to happen with you. I've had it happen to me many times over the course of, 20 plus years of walking through chronic illness and now walking into recovery and healing. And we begin to take that on as an identity, we internalize it, and it becomes a piece of who we are. And while that can be comforting in the moment, or we may not even realize we're doing it, it can actually be damaging in the long term. We can begin to cloak ourselves in an identity in the things we think, speak over ourselves, in our relationships with other people, in the jobs we have, in the limitations we think are set before us. There are so many things that in our world that we don't realize that we take on as false identities. And to us in our mind, it's real, and we don't realize that we're doing it because it's familiar. Maybe it's something that we were told over and over again as a child. Maybe it's something that we went through an experience or a trauma. We don't realize that we've developed a false identity, something that we could actually break out of and move beyond and conquer and overcome. But we're staying stuck in this identity we've built for ourselves because of those experiences and those limiting beliefs and those identities. And we're staying stuck because we somehow find comfort in that familiarity. Another reason that we have a hard time letting go is trust issues and control issues, which often go together. And this is another thing I've had to confront in my own life time and time again as I've been walking out of a lot of limiting belief cycles and the sickness cycle, moving into a healing cycle, moving into this whole new world of possibilities as I'm confronting those things. It's making me have to realize the areas where I was not trusting God the way I should have been, because He alone is trustworthy. At the end of the day, I'm not when it comes to my feelings and my will and my emotions. He is. And yet I was trying to maintain control. And we do that because of fear. We do that because of insecurity. We do that because of fear of the unknown. I think sometimes we're trying to grip and hold on so tightly, could be to that identity thing, could be to what we think is comforting to us. And again, at the end of the day, it's actually a false sense of control. I think specifically with relationships, another reason we have a hard time letting go is because we've somehow convinced ourselves, or somebody else has convinced us, that there's just no way that we could be okay without this person, or without this thing, or without this belief. And I can tell you from personal experience, having been in a very, very, very bad situation in my past in a relationship, and under such mental oppression in that situation, that I just thought, oh, I won't be able to breathe without that person. Wait for it, watch. Another big reason why we have a hard time letting go is limiting beliefs. And I often am reminded that we don't even realize typically how many limiting beliefs we're holding on to. So this is not just the sentiment of, oh, just let it go. It's so easy. No big deal. What's wrong with you? We need to acknowledge it, talk about why it's hard, and then get through some practical ways that we can start moving towards a more free life, a healed life, a whole life, breaking through the ceiling of those limitations. And the last little reason, I think there are probably more than this, but we'll just deal with these today. The last little reason is that a lot of times we don't want to be accountable for the things about ourselves that need to change. It's easier, it's more comfortable, that word comfort keeps coming up. It's more comfortable to ignore them. And that's true. We all want comfort. My favorite word in the whole world is cozy. Okay, I love some comfort. But the reality is that it is in the discomfort, which doesn't last forever. We can come back to the comfort of what's actually real and true and good. But that in-between space of the discomfort, it really is what grows us the most and changes us the most and opens the most doors to our purpose in the life that we're capable of leading. So hang with me, don't leave yet, don't leave. And if you're new here and you enjoyed today's video, I would love to have you subscribe so that we can visit again. Don't forget, friends, to like the video, comment, share. It helps so much, and I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. company corrupts good character. Also, if you are not making baked pears and apples for autumn, what are you doing? It is so simple, so good. A healthy dessert option. You just need your pan, some good butter or ghee, or you can use coconut oil, apples, pears. You could do one or the other or both. I do like them together, but there's something about baked pears that is so October and November to me, and I love it. I have some of my vanilla. I actually made this vanilla last October. I have a whole blog post on how you can make your own. Easy, saves you tons of money. I even use this in the summer as a bug repellent. It smells delicious. One of the problems that I think we come across with not being able to let things go is that we tend, just us humans, we all do it, tend to surround ourselves with people and things that make us feel better about holding on to the things we're holding on to, continuing in the habits that we are doing that are affecting us negatively or are holding us back. So one of the practical steps to letting go of the things in our life that are holding us back from being all the things that we were created to be, we need to assess the company we keep. And they might be doing this just as you were, completely innocently or ignorantly. But we do need to assess the messaging and the environment that the company we're keeping is bringing into our lives, or is encouraging us, the things it's encouraging us to hold on to or to continue in, that we really should be letting go of. The other thing is disempowering some of these thoughts and beliefs that we're struggling with. And one of the ways we can do that is to release them. One can be to speak to somebody that we trust. We could write these things down in a letter or in a journal. And the reason why that is so healing is because when we keep things internalized, and trust me, I am the queen of stuffing things down, but it is not healthy. And I am dethroning myself from that queenship, because I don't need to be doing that and making myself sick for the rest of my life. And so getting those things out in whatever way is going to be the safest and the most healing for you. Even sometimes it is telling God something that we have been holding back that He already knows. He already knows it. He is just waiting for you to come and say it. Sometimes we don't want to just say the thing, or we think we're not supposed to say the thing. He already knows you're thinking it. When the unforgiveness that we're not letting go of, when the negative emotions, when the false identities, when the limiting beliefs, the fears and the insecurities, when those things are trapped inside, that sounds a little high to me, it empowers them and gives, from a spiritual perspective, it gives the enemy of your soul a lot of material to continue to whisper in your ear. Confess your sins to one another that you may be healed. I'm not calling all of these feelings and things for having sins, but there's a lesson there. And there's a power. It's saying that there's a spiritual power in releasing things from our mouth. The power of life and death is in the tongue, and those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. So there is a lot of power in the tongue. The tongue is the rudder of the ship of our body. The things that we speak over ourselves and others are very, very powerful. When we bring things in and make them our identity, we have made an agreement with that toxic or negative thing. And when we can release it and then say, I choose. Your emotions may not have caught up with this yet, and that's okay. It's like forgiveness. But we can say, I choose forgiveness. My emotions haven't caught up yet, but I'm believing in faith that they will follow my choice. So I am making a choice that I am breaking agreement with this thing. This no longer defines my reality. And so I've had to say, forgive me, for taking on this identity, this false identity, and finding comfort in it, because it's been familiar to me my whole life. I choose to break agreement with this. I'm asking you to empower me to walk in the identity that you have placed upon my life. And I am now going to decide when I wake up in the morning to start to train my heart and my mind and my mouth to speak the things that are true. We cannot allow our emotions to continue to dictate the rest of our life. So there it is. I just put the maple syrup, it's real maple syrup, in here, and I'm just going to mix all of this together and pop it in my oven, and the house is going to smell delightful. If we're going to go through this process of letting go and feeling the hard things, we're going to need to replace those things with better things. And that's the joy of what's on the other end of all of the fear, all the trepidation about letting go, is that there's courage and there's a leveling up and there's freedom. So beginning to take small steps on a daily basis and build good routines and habits so that we have positive things that are going on in our life that can begin to fill and take the place of the things that were harmful, that were holding us back, that were suppressing us and oppressing us. And so beginning to incorporate more healing or positive or life-giving words, thoughts, relationships, foods, routines, schedules, and begin to slowly build those things up. And we talk about that a lot on this channel, about living intentionally. I'd love to have you stick around and go on this journey with me as we all walk further into our healing and intentional eras of life. And so I wanted to thank you all so much for choosing to spend a piece of your day here with me. Thank you to our members and to our patrons. Any information about any of my programs, our digital products, or our blog, you can head over to ourlittlehouseonthemountain.com. All of the links will be in the description box and pinned in the comments below. I appreciate and love you, and Lord willing, I will see each and every one of you, beautiful and precious souls, right here on the next one. Bye, friends.